Sorry the video is a little late, guys. Get into this game a little bit. Real disappointing loss. I know we're all pretty bummed out about it. It's year one. Billy Napier. Definitely want to say the disappointing game, disappointing season. Disappointed in the staff as a whole. And right now, I'm kind of just in the middle. I would say muted on the direction of the program. That's not really the word. I'm like in the middle. I'm not really going anywhere. I feel like we're stagnant right now. I feel like recruiting is, I feel like the arrow is just going sideways. Recruiting's pointing up. On the field and coaching is just kind of pointing status quo. Same record as last year. Same team as last year. Most of the same guys, same product on the field. A lot of the same issues as last year. It doesn't look like they came in and changed anything on the defensive side of the ball. It's just more of the same. So this game was kind of a microcosm of that. First thing I want to do is I want to get into recruiting. I just want to go over, we're going to get more into that because we've got, National Signing Day coming up. But I really want to get into like some of the big names, some of the targets I think we should be looking out for. At running back, Mark Fletcher is a name that got brought up recently. He's a 9-102 4-star to go along with Trayon Webb. I think that's going to be the guy that matches up with Webb in the backfield at Florida. So good back. Two good backs in the class, solid. Guys like Montrell and ETN. So more good production coming in there. You got Keeley at defensive line. Right now I don't see him trending towards us. Jordan Hall, defensive lineman. I could see him picking the Gators. Definitely a toss-up between us and Georgia and some other schools. Florida State getting involved now. That win over us definitely helped them. I don't know how long that'll sustain, though. We'll get into that some more, too. Don't see that school trending up, in my opinion. I don't think they'll sustain even the success they had this year. I look for them to go back to about a 6-7 win team next year. So you got Smith, Russaw Smith on the defensive line. Smith on the defensive line. You got Ricks at safety, 5-star guy trending towards LSU. You got Russaw on the edge, 5-star kid. Florida's still in it for him. Still somewhat in it for Keeley. Baxter, I've heard some talk about him, flipping him. Man, that'd be sweet. That'd be big time for Florida. In my view, in my opinion, I think Florida still needs a 5-star in this class just to cap it off, be the cherry on top to a borderline top 5 class. The class has not got as much momentum as it had before. It definitely slowed down a little bit. I think things will start to pick back up. Gator Collective is going to be making some moves. You got 5-star offensive lineman Okanala. Don't see him in the picture yet. UCS Walker, look for him to flip to the Gators. Defensive lineman. We're loading up on the defensive line for obvious reasons at Florida. One of the guys I really, really want in this class, I think the offensive line at Florida is good, but not great. Still very mediocre in my opinion. Against the better teams, they struggled. We need talent upgrades there. Lucas Simmons, offensive line commit at Florida State. We already flipped one of their guys. We're about to take your other one. So looking for that. Definitely know he's interested in the Gators. So that's some of the recruiting stuff out there right now. I just want to get that out there, talk about that first before we get into this barn burner of a game that was, make you sick the way we lost, especially at the end with the bad officiating, the face mask in the official's face. Not calling that face mask really ticked me off. A lot of calls didn't go our way that really kind of decided the outcome of that game there at the end, where I think the Gators could have tied it and went to overtime. So let's just put it bluntly. FSU escaped Florida at home with a 9-3 team that had all the momentum in year 3 with their coach versus a 6-6 bad Florida team, all-time bad, with a year 1 coach that doesn't have his guys. So it was more impressive what Florida was able to do, although Florida should have and could have won that game if Billy made better decisions, in-game calls, better decisions coming out of halftime. So, that one to me, the defense sucked again. They can't stop a wet fart, so they just suck. period. They couldn't stop FSU to save their life. They're so up and down, inconsistent. Play good on first and second down. Can't get off the field on third down. It could be 3rd and 25, 3rd and 100, and the other team will convert. No problem. They forget how to play defense on third down. So the game as a whole, for me, that third quarter, I don't know what Billy was doing. Let's come out and do what we, haven't been doing that wasn't successful. Let's throw the ball and get behind by 2 touchdowns. Again, before the half, makes boneheaded calls, gets conservative, plays scared, doesn't go for points, calls timeouts at terrible times during the game. I mean, we got enough of a sample size here to where I don't have a ton of hope for the on-field stuff. I definitely think the offense, running game is elite. The passing game, he definitely needs, to me, he needs to give up play calling. He's an offensive coordinator, or he needs a a passing game coordinator like Brady at LSU. So hopefully the guy can self-evaluate and analyze his game enough to see that he needs to make some decisions and make some corrective changes. So, I just think this game hurt more because of the Vanderbilt game. If you win that Vandy game and you're 7-5, and then you go to the FSU game, or you're 7-4, I'm sorry, and you lose that FSU game and go 7-5 to finish the year, I don't think any of us are upset with that, especially the way we lost the game. By 1 touchdown, they were 10-point favorites, and they couldn't even cover. This is definitely FSU's ceiling, in my opinion. So that Vandy game just really hurts really bad. I'm going to stop riding this bike here so I can actually talk. Vandy game just really hurt for me, especially after they go to Tennessee or Vanderbilt and then win 56-0. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. How could we not show up for that game and lose to that Vanderbilt team by a touchdown, basically? And Tennessee, with their backup quarterback, goes up there and puts up 56 points. That was a sieve of a defense at Vanderbilt. Florida should have done so much better in that game. It was just unreal. Couldn't run the ball, but we can put up 260-something yards on FSU. Makes no sense. I know they play in the ACC, which is a weak conference. South Carolina, our 8-4 SEC team, beats their number 1 team, Clemson. Yeah, I don't want to hear. There's no comparison there with conferences. There just isn't. FSU's overrated, overhyped. I might be butthurt about the loss. But look, they've been equally as bad, and we've beaten them 3 straight, okay? Just like they used to own us, we've owned them the last 4 years. They finally got one in year 3, hit on the transfer portal, got some decent players in. Guys, it was a one-hit wonder. Norvell, again, terrible first 2 seasons. They're recruiting below top 15. They're like 16th or 17th in recruiting. It's just not going to get it done. Not even in the ACC is that going to get it done. Travis is like a 3rd, 4th-year guy. I mean, he's going to be gone soon, and they don't have anybody that has the legs that kid has. Nobody. This quarterback they just picked up from Ohio State. Ohio State didn't want the kid. Decent pickup, but again, there ain't no world beater coming in there that can run around on a defense like Travis has. Took him 3 years, to develop into a sub 50% passer. So their offense is not consistent. It's just very explosive. Florida's weakness is giving up explosive plays on defense. Florida's offense is the same way. I mean, AR and Travis are like mirror images of each other. Got the legs, can run, can move around the pocket, throw the deep ball, can hit all the big passes. AR's explosive but inconsistent. Like I said, our class right now is ranked 8th in the country with a 9.2 player average. That's a high 4-star average. That's a better class than Tennessee, Clemson, Oklahoma. It's about equal with LSU's class. It's a better class than Miami's. We took Miami's quarterback commit. We got Rashada, got the future at quarterback there. FSU's class is ranked 17th, guys. 17th. That is terrible at FSU. When Jimbo was there, when Bowden was there, they were recruiting top 5 classes. And FSU fans need to get real and be realistic. They got a 90 average, which is less than what Mullen averaged as a recruiter. Okay? Clemson is 9th right now and has recruited a top 10 class every year. FSU ain't beating Clemson. They're not taking Clemson out year in and year out on a consistent basis. They couldn't even get it done this year with a bad Clemson team because Florida State is just not that talented, and 9-3 is their ceiling. Next year, I think they lose another game and probably drop 4 next year. So I just don't see it. FSU is not going to get in the playoff. They're not an ACC title contender, in my opinion. Even if they do get close to competing for the ACC, it'll probably still be with 2 or 3 losses and miss out on making the playoff just because the ACC is that bad. But you can see the gap there in Florida's talent coming in the future compared to FSU's trending down. Their arrow's pointing down. Like I said, this was just a one. If any of these indicators are right, Florida's going to be on the better side of this game the next 2 to 3 years with FSU's recruiting, what Norvell's brought in. He patched this team together with a transfer portal this year. That's not going to work. Look what Mullen did in the transfer portal. He hit for 2 years and then just whiffed on everybody. So the transfer portal is not sustainable. And when those guys don't hit, it sets your program back for 2 to 3 years. So this game, let's just point out some of the highlights here. Benson, 111 yards, again, on a defense that can't stop anybody. Just no improvement on defense. FSU excels rushing 5. What did we do in this game? We rushed 5. They're just good at shredding a defense when they blitz. We just didn't do the things that we needed to do to put FSU in a bad spot in this game. Again, Tony, I am not sold on Patrick Toney as a defensive coordinator. He just looks lost out there. Just does the opposite of what the tape says to do. Gator Nation podcast points this out all the time. Those guys are my go-to, and they break it down so thoroughly. That is probably why I'm the most discouraged. Those guys are very football-minded, and when you got guys like that can break down film and explain what's going on the field, and then you watch the game and you see it translate what they're saying, you start to realize, yeah, you get your guys and you get the talent in there, but that's only going to get you so far. You got to coach those guys up. Yes, you need the talent, but, man, where are the adjustments at, in the second half? A&M, y'all can say what you want. Yeah, we won that game, but the passes were there to be made. Haynes King just couldn't hit them. We did nothing in that game. Our defense got lucky that we didn't get shredded again in the second half. There was no adjustments. Those passes, those receivers were still open in our secondary. South Carolina just had a really bad game when they played us. Thank God we didn't catch them these last 2 weeks. They caught on fire. I don't think the defense would have stopped them if we had to play them twice. So, to me, that team on defense, the Gators, our team looked like we regressed, in my opinion, on defense. Look, we had started to turn a corner. After South Carolina, I started to buy in a little more, but, just disappointing season overall. I predicted 8-4. We go 6-6. There was every opportunity for this team to be 8-4, and I'm gonna get into some more of that later with Napier. His comments. Lackadaisical in press conferences, coach speak. Respect the other team. I love FSU. I love Norvell. Let's kiss all their butts. All of our rivals. I'm sick of that, man. Have some passion, have some fire. Be pissed. Be disappointed when you lose a game. Apologize to the dang fans and people that love and have more passion in this program than you. Just because you got a $7 million check, doesn't mean that you love the Gators as much as us fans. I promise you, we care more about this team winning and losing than you do. That's how I feel about it. People can say what they want. I guarantee you the fans care more than the coaches do about the wins and losses. They're collecting a check, and their buyouts are massive $1 million buyouts. You think they really care if they get fired? Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just don't buy it. And, I know he's a good guy. He's a program builder. But, man, Florida fans really just want to see you, Billy, get in a press conference and just show a little passion, man. Show a little, I'm pissed that we lost this game. What are you going to do to make it right? That's all we want to hear, man. Give us something to go off of. Give us some hope. Am I right? Am I right? That's his number one line. Am I right? That's a good football team over there. Heck of a lot of respect for that coach. Man, I'm sick of hearing that, dude. Nobody likes FSU. Gator fans and FSU fans hate each other. Okay? No one wants to hear about, how much respect we have for so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. No, what are we going to do to fix it? And we don't want this result again. Let's, do something. Travis, like I said, 83 rush yards on the Gators. We've struggled the last 4 or 5 years with running quarterbacks, and still to this day, we just can't seem to contain a quarterback. We over pursue, undisciplined in this game. Tony, again, didn't do anything to contain Travis. He had 2 touchdowns. He's an average quarterback, guys. He's just an explosive guy. Norvell's a good offensive coordinator. 228 rush yards by FSU on this defense. Again, we've been shredded on the ground all year against better running teams with good backs. But look at this number here, guys. 13 of 30, sub 50% completion percentage for 270 yards for Travis. 270 yards, 13 of 30. That tells me that third down, he converted big, long third downs and, chunk plays. This defense gives up the chunk plays. Like I said, they can stop you on first and second down, but if it's 3rd and 100, they convert no matter what. It is like we play to let the other team convert a 3rd down or something. It's like, what is the worst possible defense we can get in? Let's do that. That just tells me their offense was really explosive in this game, but not consistent. So they just hit on all their big plays, and we just missed on 1 or 2 less than them. 3rd and long, just a major issue for this team. We played to their strengths. Norvell 9-3, lost all the good teams in the ACC. That's what was even more disappointing. I actually was less impressed with FSU after watching this game. I thought they were better than they are, to be honest with you. They were a mirage at 9-3 to me. It's just more a matter of the conference they play in and how bad that conference is that they are 9-3 this year. You take every ranked team they played except for LSU, and they lost, and they only beat LSU on a last-second kick by 1 point. That same LSU team right now would probably take them to the wire again, if not beat them. LSU has regressed a little bit. I think they just caught fire for a couple games. But, man, really, you play one good SEC team and one good team all year, and you think you're something. You don't play in the SEC where half the conference is ranked. The majority of top 15 recruiting classes come out of the SEC. They're not playing the talent level we are. I'm sorry, they're not. NC States and Wakes and all these teams are ranked in the 40s, 50s, and hires in recruiting. Florida State's just a bad 9-3 team in my opinion still. They're decent. I'm just ticked that we lost the game. I'll give this. They're decent, but they ain't great. They're really not. And they're even less impressive after that escape of a win. And then they act like they won the Super Bowl, which to them that probably is their Super Bowl, beating a bad Florida team, because that's as good as it's ever going to get from them. And I think they realize that deep down. They just don't want to admit it. But we played to their strengths. Norvell, like I said, to 9-3, that's their ceiling, bud. I'm sorry, but that's your ceiling, Norvell. I don't see you doing anything more than that. Top 15, 20 recruiting classes just won't sustain that kind of success. And I don't even know if we're really calling 9-3 in year 3 much success. There is such thing as a year 3 test. If you haven't won big New Year's 6 championships, conference titles in year 3, the odds and statistics say that you never will win anything at that school. You can be a 7, 8, 9 win team a year, but that's your ceiling after that year 3 mark, and that's been proven many times. Gator Nation goes over it. They do the analytics to back it up with the last 20 years of teams and how they recruited, what coaches have won. Most of them win national titles by year 3. There's only like 1 or 2 exceptions to that rule. And most of those guys that are the exception maybe get 1 title out of that tenure out of school, so you won't see that very often. Travis had the second most rush yards allowed all year was on us. Again, this goes back to Tony's defense. Billy's third quarter, terrible play calls, run the dang ball. Everybody, including fans, knew that we did the wrong thing in the third quarter. AR sub 50% completion percentage in this game, 5 of 17. Pearsall 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. Really hope that guy can come back next year and contribute. And what's crazy is that's our number 1 receiver on our team. At best, he's a number 2 or 3 guy on any other team in the SEC, or some of the better teams. I'm sorry. He's a good receiver. Let's see here. 43. Explosive. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Explosive. Very boomer bust passing game. I put that down there. We already talked about that. But, yeah, Ricky's had a good year. I really like him. I hope he comes back. That just tells you how thin we are at receiver. just how much we lack depth, guys. I mean, that receiver room's not scaring anybody. I mean, Pearsall and Shorter, that's the best we got. I mean, both of them barely over 500 yards, 5 touchdowns for our best receiver. ETN 17 carries, 129 yards. Johnson 17 for 85. Shorter 577 on the season. You know, him being out definitely hurt us in this game. Could have had 2 guys that can take it deep, take the top off the defense. Our leading tackler on the team, Rashad Torrance, was out. That tells you how sorry this defense is with Torrance being out and being our leading tackler. When your safety is your leading tackler, that is a very bad defense. Your linebacker should be your leading tackler. There's no wide receiver depth. Again, you know, Douglas is the only guy that I think has any kind of a bright future on this team. I'm kind of intrigued by Marcus Burke to see what he can do in the future. Defense, you know, doesn't move when Billy puts guys in motion. I'm so sick of seeing guys run back and forth, doing all these motions behind the line of scrimmage. The defense literally knows exactly what we're doing. It's not fooling anybody. It's a bunch of window dressing, and these coaches are just telling their guys, look, don't even completely ignore what Billy does with Pearsall running sideways. It literally has nothing to do with the play. So they're just not buying it. It's not creative. It's really dull. It looks very gimmicky and high schoolish, in my opinion. So they just need to give that a rest and figure something else out, because that's definitely not fooling anybody. You know, we ran the ball for 262 yards, 5.7 yards per carry. This is an elite running offense. Billy is an elite play caller running the ball, although we get sick of him running it up the middle in certain plays when it's not a good spot on the field. Down, distance, situation, he calls some terrible runs up the middle. But, man, I'm not even worried about the run game with Billy at Florida, with the offensive line, with the backs that we have coming in. Montreal and ETN both back next year. They're going to be elite. You know, even better next year, another year in the program, even more comfortable. I cannot wait to see what ETN, that dude's going to rush for 1,000 yards easy next year. Montreal's going to be close with the bowl game. He's already over 800 something yards. 11 straight incompletions in the second half. Again, just atrocious passing game. And a lot of that's on Billy and a lot of that's on AR. I'd probably fault both of them, but I really thought AR looked better throwing the ball under Mullen and his system than he does in Billy's. Even against the inferior teams, I didn't think that AR looked good throwing the ball this year. AR is just a mid-tier SEC quarterback. You know, he's average at best. His stats and numbers were average. I looked the other day. He was right there, dead center in the middle. 2,549 yards, which is, that's decent. It's not terrible. I do kind of like hitting a little bit. I'd like to see what the kid's got, get out there and compete next year, see if he can, battle for that first team spot. 71% completion percentage for 181 yards. Definitely not a big enough sample size there. So everybody loves the backup quarterback, but man, I really thought he ran the offense well and looked sharp when he was in there. So hope he stays at Florida and sticks it out and battles these guys next year. We can use all the depth and competition we can get at quarterback. So Johnson, 827 yards on the season. Pearsall, 596 yards. AR, 53% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I predicted 26 total he has 26 total touchdowns, which is that's decent, I predicted 9 to 10 interceptions, so right there on it. I knew he was going to throw a lot of picks. Predicted 25 to 27 touchdowns, though, passing. Way off on that, way under, very underwhelming throwing the ball. Very low number of touchdowns. Heck, I don't even think he threw his first one until like game 4, which is really atrocious considering the arm talent that the kid has. He's just a very inaccurate passer. Rushing, like I said, 827 yards for Johnson, along with 62 for 10 touchdowns. Kid had an incredible year, one of my favorite players ever at Florida. Him and ETN, my favorite running back duo. Since when? Jordan Scarlett and Piron, the last time we've had 2 backs like this, they were able to put up those kind of numbers. The thing is, these guys are way head and shoulders better than both of those 2 running backs. They put up same type of yardage, but even more. Johnson with 827. I think back then both those guys had about 700 yards, but none of them had along a 62 and 85 yards for ETN. AR along at 81 with 654 yards. Again, incredible rushing numbers. 10 touchdowns for Johnson, 6 for ETN as a true freshman, and 9 rushing touchdowns for AR. Again, so incredible red zone threat with his legs. Just, last half of the year, it just seemed like we could not score in the red zone. This red zone play calling and offense is also very bad. Was not impressed there. 6.4 yard average was one of the highest in the country. Again, looked really good there running the ball. Players are leaving. I wrote this down too today. I don't know if y'all been following the news, but players are leaving in a mass exodus. Whitmore's gone. These are all guys transferring out, transfer portal. Avery Helms leaving. I'm not hounding the wide receiver, so true freshmen are going to have to come in and make an immediate impact on this team. Douglas, maybe, like I said, Elksness is leaving. Naquan Wright's gone. Cox is gone. DeJuan Black. Chief Borders, I've heard rumors of him. I don't know if he put in the portal. I thought he did. I think Pouncey might be hitting the portal. Kamar Wilcoxon's definitely hit the portal. We're just going to have to clean up in the portal. We're going to have to really crush it and land a lot of big-time players there. Linebacker is going to be a need. Wide receiver, possibly an offensive lineman. FCS portal guys are open for contact. We've already made contact with several guys in the transfer portal at the lower level. I know there's definitely a linebacker that we've hit up out there. I heard something about a running back too, which I thought was weird. I don't know why we would even bother taking a running back. We're set. So like I said, to end this off, one of the biggest issues of that game, timeouts were bad all year. He said he's analytic, but it didn't show on the field. Didn't seem like an analytical coach to me at all. Before halftime, gets conservative, needs an OC, pass game coordinator. He's a CEO type coach to me. He runs a fine program. Recruiting is where, well, actually, I wish recruiting was even a little bit better, but recruiting is definitely trending up. He's a great recruiter. Predicted 8-4 before the year, 6-6. Disappointing process guy. I said show some passion, have some accountability even in year one. We know it's a process, but we still would have liked to try to go for the win and get a couple extra wins. An 8-win season would have meant a lot to Gator Nation. A little too much coach speak for me, and I just want to end this podcast on one more note. I know we're Gator fans. We love all the Gator sports. Gators basketball is kicked off. We're 4-3. Very, very bad start to the year for Gators basketball. Todd Golden, again, just like Billy Napier, not impressed so far. It is year one. I'm going to give Billy a pass and Todd Golden a pass. Don't care what happens in year one. Now, Todd Golden's a little different. He did hit the transfer portal hard, brought in a lot of talented guys. So I expect the Gators to make the NCAA tournament in basketball this year. If it's NCAA tournament or disappointment and failure for me. So make the tournament or bust. But yeah, again, they all get a pass. So go Gators. Hope everybody had a good weekend and happy Thanksgiving. Sorry I was a little long-winded on this one. Just a lot of news to go over. Haven't been on here in a while. So hope everybody has a good one. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks.